Board of Zoning Appeals for November 18th, 2021. Mr. Greer, would you call roll, please?
Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Oster,
Here.
Mr. Travis,
Yes.
Ms. Ladar,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley. Here.
We will have a swearing in of the witnesses. Anyone who intends to testify, please raise your right hand and be sworn. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony that you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? State I do, and when it's your turn to offer testimony, please state your full name, address, and affirm that you've been sworn in.
I do. All right, the first case is variance case VA-CU-21-15. The applicant is Day Night Sign Company. The owner is Thomas C. Carpenter. The site is 10130 Columbus Pike, Lewis Center, Ohio 43035. Has a parcel ID number 318-334-01003-001. That's zone plain commercial office district. The request is seeking an area variance from Orange Township zoning resolution section 22.04 to allow for a monument sign above the allowed standard height and an area variance for the width of the base of the sign. They are also seeking a conditional use for the monument sign. The subject property is located west of Columbus Pike. The site is currently owned by Thomas C. Carpenter in the zone plain commercial office district. Surrounding areas to the north is farm residential residence. To the south is plain commercial is Nissan. To the east is plain commercial. We have 23, and then we have Mitsubishi and also annexed in the Columbus areas. To the west is plain commercial. There's a commercial building, and then also Metro Parks is west of that. We have provided a zoomed out aerial of the site. And you're also provided a zoomed in area of the site. Under the staff review, the variance request for sign-based width, monument style freestanding signs, which are defined as signs directly supported by and affixed directly to a base having a width at least equal to that of the sign with no intervening openings, supporting posts, poles, pillars, uprights, or braces. The applicant is requesting a base that will fail to equal the width of the sign. They're asking for a 6 feet variance request. You'll see that in Exhibit 1 for the proposed sign base width. The second variance request is for sign height. The maximum height of such sign does not exceed 8 feet above the average grade of the site, and the sign is located at the distance from any street right-of-way line indicated below. The applicant is requesting a height of 17 feet, which is also shown in Exhibit 1. Next, you have Exhibit 1. Then Exhibit 2 is the site plan that shows the setback, which will be set back at 53 feet from the right of way. And you have 2 site plan exhibits, one zoomed out, one is zoomed in.
Yeah, point of order, in order for yourself and Brett to testify,
Yep.
also be sworn in the test.
Yep, I attested before. Thank you. Also provided was the packet with the signs, both sign. First one was what they originally wanted. The second one is what they're proposing. Also shared it with other signs that are on the site currently. they're sharing the Mitsubishi sign, which is currently across the street at that, is built at that height currently. Where they provided some site photos of signs in the near area and on the site. They also show a site plan that shows the distance from the right of way to the current signs on other sites and on this site, along with their proposed location. And then we provided some site photos of on the site, looking down the site. The sign is going to be here. We're close to where this brush truck is shown on the photo. The site they're proposing. I will state, when this came in, we did reach out to legal counsel as to if it's a use variance or what type of sign it was considered. With the first sign that they proposed would have been a pole sign, which is prohibited in the township. They would have had to seek a use variance for that. With the adjustments, with the pole cover that will attach to the sign and to the ground is considered a base. Per our code, with no intervening openings. So the legal counsel had provided us stating that it was considered a monument sign. So they would just be asking the area variances instead of the use variance for this sign. So that is why you have the two
without the
area
cover,
variances.
without the cover being added into the dimensions of the sign.
Without the cover. So their first desired sign would have been a pole sign with how this was designed.
Right.
This is what they're requesting for the variances.
Now, is that cover going to be included into the square footage of the sign?
No,
As if it was a bigger cover? That would be.
no, it's not. The sign area is the display area. Since there's no message and no logos or anything on it, it would not be considered the display area of the sign. It would be considered the base of
And
the
it was
sign.
separate.
But wouldn't that also be considered as part of the monument base?
Correct, it would be part of the base. They're proposing to have it come down to the ground, so it's coming straight to the ground.
And is that why it got as wide as the whole sign?
They're asking for that one, not as wide as the sign. This is the desired sign that they're seeking the request for.
Okay, it's the variance.
Yeah, that's the variance because it's not going to be the same width.
Going from 8 feet to 2 feet with a 6 foot difference.
Correct.
Right.
And the applicant is here, so they wish you have questions for them, but if you have other questions about our legal conversation. I've answered. That's it.
The applicant like to come forward and you would please state your name and address.
My name is Jennifer Becker, 87 Oak Street, Columbus, Ohio, 43205. With Daylight Sign Company. Variance proceeding, I'm representing Christian, they're a tenant on this property.
So is Crash Champions part of BZA North, or is that going to be a separate entity or business?
It's a separate business, separate entity on the same parcel.
Did that change? Because their body shop was in there.
That is correct. Their body shop was there and it has changed.
Okay. So they sold their body shop portion off.
This originally we had looked for a place closer to the road. And closer to the road, the 15-foot setback would have put that sign almost directly in the driving path of that lane. The parking area in front of Crash Champions is the sale lot for the used cars, for the Nissan used cars. And a lot of those are actually trucks throughout the entire front line. To put a monument sign in that front line, not only would be in the way of traffic, but it would also be eclipsed by the cars and the trucks, which is why I have that particular slide. That's truck is to scale average. It's not truck, it's called. So we wanted to show that it's not a good place for a sign. It's also the best, really the only good spot for it is only about 10 feet away, actually 15 feet away from another pole sign, which also is an ideal, it would be bad advertising. They compete with each other visually. So we looked at setting it back into the next parking island. And in the next parking island, an 8-foot tall monument sign would still have the same problem. It wouldn't be very visible. On top of that, the way that it would have to be situated, it would create a liability, basically a safety hazard on that whole, for the whole parcel for all the businesses, and especially the people who are browsing used cars driving throughout that lot. So that when they came up to that to turn left or turn right, it would make it very difficult to see what was around that side. So we thought that the best sign to propose for this location would be some sort of pole sign. We try to comply as best as possible by giving it full coverage, even though it's not much of one. We try to comply with allowable square footage for the setback. We really do believe that it's important for this company to have a freestanding sign. The building is set back behind a car lot and it's on a busy road. People going 45, 55 miles an hour on that road. And we don't want them to be missed. The only other sign on front of that building would be a building sign. It would also be to code. We haven't gotten our request back yet, but it is going to be set over 100 feet back from the road. So we'd like to see them get a little bit more visibility from the road there.
Mr. Beer, would you back the slide back where they showed what Jennifer was referring to with the trucks that are parked right there at the front row? There, right there. Who dictates whose cars or trucks or whatever are there? You said that's a safety hazard. You really couldn't see if I'm not mistaken. Is that what you said, man?
That specific spot is not a safety hazard right there. That area is, it would simply block, from one direction, it would block the sign, and from the other direction, it would block Nissan's product.
I mean, as a consumer, it would appear to be somewhat confusing with all the Nissan signs and along with this sign as well, which where to go in the first place.
We also considered that the fact that the front part of that lot directly in front of the Crash Champions building is Nissan's, by setting the pull sign or the tall monument sign back a little ways, it actually, I think, makes more sense to direct people to the building that sits further back. And Nissan used cars have a small building that's much closer to the road. And the Nissan new cars are south of that and across the main drive in, so that's pretty obvious as well.
This sign is going to be what you're requesting is 8 foot wide by 6 foot tall, in comparison to the Nissan sign that's 7 foot wide and 5 foot tall. in looking at the two different signs, Mr. Perry, if you could bring that one back up, that has the Nissan trucks to the right and the Crash Champions to the left. The Crash Champion signs really does stick out well. I'm surprised that we're asking for a sign that's that much larger.
I'm sorry.
Well, the sign that you're asking for, your desired sign is 8 feet wide versus 7 foot wide on a Nissan truck sign. There you go. And it's also 6 foot tall, just to the graphic, compared to 5 foot tall with the Nissan truck sign. Mr. Perry, if you go to the one of the desired sign versus other sign on site, there you go.
So you're saying the Nissan, I can't quite see it. See how that sign's on the list.
And what you provided to us.
Sure, the width of the Crash Champion sign is 7 foot wide.
8.
It's 8 foot.
Is it? I'm sorry.
It's 8. The Nissan is 7
Okay,
and the Champion is 8.
and then the, sorry, I'm set over there so I can see it.
Do you need a copy of this?
She's trying to look at the one.
Yeah.
I'm
We figured the square footage based on the setback. Originally, I wasn't trying to make it match the Nissan trucks, the sign in any way. And we wanted a little bit more width because collision repair team is about as small as it can possibly get and still be right on the road.
So this body shop, real estate and everything is still owned by Nissan, right? These people are just a tenant,
Correct.
and yet you didn't match the signs with the Nissan signs.
Well, we don't want them specifically to match, they're different entities.
Well, the signage in itself, I mean, the Crash Champion signage,
It's
along
going
with
to
the
be different,
logo is completely different, and it's a
Yeah.
good looking sign.
but,
But there are two different
I-
positions too.
I
Yeah.
understand that.
you know,
Well, the setback is different also. Like
That's what I'm saying.
Right, so it's-
Setback on the Nissan side is 15 feet maybe.
It's almost double the setback, it's almost double the square footage.
Square footage, yes.
Right, I understand that. And we're really talking about a full sign with a cover on it to comply with the monument piece.
Yes, to comply with the line. And also to comply with the parking restrictions to not create a lot of liability on the parcel.
No, and so the thought process that I think I'm following here. An 8-foot sign, you're really talking about a blocking of vision from vehicles. So even if you had the monument sign that was that high, that had an 8-foot base all the way down, or a 6-foot base all the way down, you're still blocking, there's still impaired vision from folks in their cars.
So originally we had proposed something that looks just like Mitsubishi sign across the street. And none of us really considered the weaving traffic, the browsing traffic that would go through there. And Tom's concerned about it being a liability, and I honestly think he's right. That is not something I consider. I consider a site triangle near a road, near a turn, but not usually further back into a property like this.
And that was my point, was that this particular sign is set back into the parking area, the driving area, versus near the entrance or near the driving.
Anything else you'd like to present next?
I don't think I say specifically I can answer questions, but I really somewhat speaks for itself. our hands.
Or have any questions?
So how much above height was this again?
The monument maximum height is 8 feet, this is 17.
17, 213% of the drainage.
The sign itself is 16.5, but we added the 6-inch curve because it's technically above grade.
There is no lights involved in this signage like now or in the future.
Say that again?
The lights, like any lighting,
Oh, it will be internal.
it will be.
Internal. Is it on and off at certain hours, like the business hours, that it's lighted and if not, it's not lighted, or is it?
I don't know if that's been decided. There's a number of different ways that it could be done. It could be put on a timer, it could be put on a photo cell, so it comes up in time. Up to dawn.
In regards to the lighting of the sign, do you know what the color temperature is?
LEDs that we really except for the given that most of it's black, and then the only real way that you're gonna see the color temperature is through the white. I'm not sure that it's gonna make a huge difference, but we strive to get pretty little growth. Now that we have the ability to have different color temperature LEDs, but technology has come a long way, so we try to keep it really.
Based on what you just stated, typically for a sign like this, what color range would you put it at? 3,000, 3,500, 4,000?
Somewhere around 3,000 to 5,000.
My reason for asking that is we are doing every way possible to keep lighting signage in the 3,000 range. When you get up to the 4,500, 5,000 range, you turn the blue light. And because of the observatory, we strive 3,000.
You are welcome to put that in for any kind of stipulation. I will make it happen.
Okay. My big concern is you're over 200% of what zoning allows. That's my big concern. I understand that you want it to be visible. If I was crash collisions, I would want visibility as well. The graphics that you have is beautifully done. But I have a strong concern that it's too tall.
Now, anywhere else in Orange Township, I would not be standing here in front of you. I tell the client, it's not that fast. Given the fact that this particular parcel is very near homeless and it is sort of an island of signage in and of itself. It's the only reason that I thought there was even a point of urgency for you.
But you're not in Columbus.
We,
And that has nothing to do with it.
we don't want Orange Township to be like Las Vegas Strip.
Actually, the businesses across the street don't have anything to do with it either. Each case is judged on its own merit. You know, whether they worked out some kind of deal like Nissan with their signs, you know, they might have got a different deal or something when they developed it for whatever reason that I don't know what that may be, but I'm just saying, you know.
Oh, absolutely. I'd like to
You
make
know,
sure that whatever signage is.
My problem is I think if you want to go with the monument sign, you could go with the monument sign at code on those islands. Now, you're only doing one sign,
Which island?
then you're going to, aren't you doing it on one of those existing islands?
Yes, but
as your concrete base, so to speak. Probably utilities are already there.
the problem with that is that it creates a site liability.
Yeah, I don't know that I agree with that, but you could always raise that, but there's plenty. Matter of fact, you know, we've had others that wanted that style that came all the way down. They didn't have a problem with safety. I mean, you know, you can't safety proof everything for everybody. You can't safety proof everything for everybody.
Oh, no, of course, when the whole point of the business is that most people come in and they sort of weave around and browse in their cars.
They're driving
That's
5
their
miles.
business model.
They're driving 5 miles an hour, 8 miles an hour in a parking lot, not, you know, 50 miles going down, 50 miles an hour going down 23.
And this is a business that's in between Nissan, kind of in with them. It's always been there. In fact, I've used it several times, but. And most people are going to know where it's at. And the monument inside of the Nissan signs is going to give them direction that, okay, it's still right here. And you go back to the body shop. Most people are going to be familiar with that, you know.
If they recognize that that's their question. My biggest concern is that can you go back to the,
So that is standard height, standard width sign by the truck. Is that what that is saying?
Yes.
That one there is standard, as big as they can make it. Like a,
in Orange Township, yes. Question is the building with their logo on it.
Mhm.
And you can see that they're set back further than to the north of it. It's the used car dealership, and to the south of it is Nissan. And being in the midst of both of those, they would very much like to differentiate themselves. And those
Well, I'll go back to the statement earlier, you know, not only is your sign larger, but if you want to differentiate, I would want it lower. If it was looking at differentiation between the Nissan signs, et cetera, I would want the sign lower so it's easy to be picked out. You know, if this, and I'm just saying this is a hypothetical.
yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
From the base to the bottom of the signage is 10 foot 6 inches. If it was at 5 foot 6 inches, and then you had the base of the crash champion signage, that would quickly differentiate from what I can see in the pictures provided from all the different Nissan signs that are in and around it. Truck sign, the Nissan sign by itself, etc. That's just me. Any other comments or questions or anything from any of the other board members? Sandar?
For sure, the bigger, the size bigger is something really concerns me too. Like you suggested, like either smaller or the same size as that would be good. That's my opinion.
Based on our code, the display area is smaller than what they're allowed to have in that setback. And technically, the Nissan signs are bigger than what they're allowed at their setback.
The Nissan signage went in when the Nissan was first established, 1973?
Possibly, we have no records of the Nissan signs at the township. We have searched for variances for sign permit applications. There is none. We have no record of what rezoning case covers this property as well. So if the rezoning went in and said they could have these pole signs, then this would be a permitted use and would not even be here. They could have had the pole sign, but since we don't have any record of any live signs, that's why it's here. So if they had a variance for this other pole signs, then this would be considered that and would be allowed, but.
It's probably
don't have that,
something done when it was developed.
so.
And again, I go back to the property in 1973, according to the property card before this zoning restriction existed. That's why I bring it up.
But the size of the sign can't be the issue. Right. That can't be the issue.
Right.
Because that's below code at that setback. So the size of the sign can't be the deciding factor.
Right. Now, the height of the sign.
Right. The other issue, and that's the price, and they're not asking for anything to deal with the sizes. The size of the sign, that's what I think Mr. Beard was pointing out, right? Okay. Right.
Yes.
And that would be part of the conditional use where it has to meet those standards.
Check one question.
Yep.
The ordinance has a limit on the number of signs on a parcel, does it not?
It has a number of monument signs, and since the other ones would be considered pole signs, this would be the only monument sign allowed on that property.
That's what I want.
Well, the Nissan, why is that considered a pole sign when the pole's covered with a square channel, just like what they're proposing?
Because based on legal representation, that's a pole.
It's what?
Based on legal representation, that's a pole, and there's intervening openings at the bottom of it, it's connected with some bolts, and there's a gap.
So theirs isn't going to be on a pole with a cover,
Well, it's gonna be the cover, but technically,
no opening at the bottom?
correct. There's no opening, and based on these sites, the legal representation has stated that these were pole signs, and that is what we consider a monument sign.
Okay. That
And
answers
this
the
would be
question.
the,
That they're open at the bottom, you can actually see the pole and the bolts and
Yep.
where they're
Yeah.
connected.
Honestly, I feel the color difference between Nissan and the Champion, just that is, like this is more stronger, you get my point? So even in the day and time, I believe it's going to be more visible. If your goal is to, get that attention, because there is another business like Nissan, let's talk about Nissan, right? If that's your goal to make the cycles look very bigger, I think the color is so sweet for it. The color difference between Nissan and
Let's see, these trucks, looks like he is all right. Covered. with-
That's what I'm trying to find the picture of it.
I don't know how they came up with that, but that's what they came up with. So,
That's what legal said, yes. Yeah, I can see anything different.
it could be that there is an opening there for some kind of electric to run in from the outside of the cover. And that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't agree with that, but that's not my place.
That's the material at this point. That's why I asked the question, because the number of monument signs, and this will be the first, so we don't have an issue with that. Had there been other monument signs, then we have different issues, and you would have discovered that with Jeff.
Any other questions? Comments?
No.
No.
I believe, I understand their signs or their pole covers are gonna go all the way to the ground with no cutout openings at all to be considered a monument sign. So they can't end up with any kind of holes for anything and put them in the sign like the other ones were. To not be considered pole signs.
I think here's the quandary that we're in. For the sign base in your variance request, there's 7 primary factors that we have to abide by, and I will read those to you. Whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return, or whether there could be any other beneficial use of the property without the variance. Whether the variance is substantial. By legal counsel, anything that is considered 25% above is considered substantial. In this particular case, we're at 217%. Whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered, or whether adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. Whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services, i.e. water, sewer, garbage, etc. Whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of a zoning restriction. Whether the property owner's predicament feasibility can be alleviated through other method other than a variance. And whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed as substantial justice done by granting the variance. Those are the legal guidelines that we as the Board of Zoning Appeal have to abide by. And that's why we're asking so many of the different questions. My big concern is the 217%.
What height would make you feel,
I'm sorry.
what height would make you feel more comfortable and at the same time, you think will serve this business under the circumstances?
I'm going to answer this in a strange way, and I'm doing it purposely. In the past, whether it be a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, there was the perception of negotiations between the board and the applicant. You want 20, we say, well, we may tend to approve this if it was 13 feet instead of 20, or a code is 10. I'm just using it as an example. And we have been advised that we should not and could not offer those type of things as a negotiating tool. Whatever you request, that's what we have to abide by. Okay? If you say, I will put it at X, that's your position, not ours. And I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. We can't give you the guidance because of legal issues. This is considered a quasi judicial board. And that's why we have to abide by these guidelines.
Certainly.
And just to be perfectly clear, you were going to use that existing island pad as your base
Correct.
without putting another piece of concrete on that.
That's correct. You would have to,
I thought so,
you
but
have to call out possession.
Yeah, and actually use that base, okay.
If you say that I want to modify something, that's something you have to present to us. We can't present that to you.
My concern is that I want this point to this client to notice on a busy road, in a busy commercial setting, and their ability to have success as a business. I'm sure we'll have some things to do with, like you said, that body shop there.
They're gonna take over that and.
That doesn't mean people know what it's called now, but
Well,
it does help, but generally, if you can't see, if you don't have a good, clear understanding of where, and to be honest with you, if you go up and turn around and come back, it would be a bit of a nightmare.
Before we get in, I just got
okay,
a make a point.
okay,
Because we've been down this road before, and Mr. Beard, if you can listen, please, to make sure I'm not off base here. I wasn't saying that, so we've been down this road of substantial requests before. And legal counsel has told us that it's either substantial or it's not. So to say that that comes down some, so it's not as substantial, is not something we can do.
yeah, I was coming down to monument,
Right, so, but
yeah,
the discussion we're having here is the percentage of substantial, which is irrelevant. It's either substantial or it's
It's
not.
above 25.
Right,
or
It's above, right, so, right, which my point is, and I want to make sure I'm understanding this, my point is that to say, okay, if it's 200%, if it's 200% above code, coming down to 100% above code doesn't help. It's still above the 25%.
Right.
Okay.
that's true. But what he was saying, in his opinion, and what he had a problem, and since we all vote, that is where it comes into what does he like or what does he think? What do you like and what do you think? So maybe if they represented something of however they wanted to modify, might make somebody move to their favor. And I think that's kind of what you're getting at. It's still going to be substantial.
That line of the items for check is still going to be in check on right.
Me, I was thinking standard, full monument that they're allowed in square footage at the distance of the setback of where they are. Because, I look at these things too as kind of a directional type thing, once you turn into Nissan North, because they even did that with the body shop. It's in Nissan North. And, once you go into Nissan North, then you're gonna see the sign that says, okay, it's right here where you go back to that building, because there's 3 buildings on there.
But it's not Nissan anymore.
Right.
And they changed use, they applied for a change of use, so they're craft champions, it has nothing to do with Nissan. Now.
The property is still owned by them, they're just a tenant, correct?
Well, the property is owned by Thomas Carpenter,
Right,
and Nissan's a tenant there as well.
and they're a tenant, he's not the owner of Nissan.
Not
The
that I'm aware of.
Nissan,
But that doesn't matter here, right?
Correct.
The business exists there,
Sure, correct.
right? Nissan business exists there, and just the body shop is going to be checked,
Correct.
right?
so
I
Thomas
see
Carpenter
this as-
isn't involved with Nissan North, and they're a tenant also. She doesn't know.
I see this from my advantage, because
Not-
Nissan was there, like, established for a very long time. So,
Yeah, and they floated in under, they probably spoke to somebody and just got to do whatever they wanted to do at the time when they were developed, which we see a lot, Zoning controls all that when they're developing, and they'll
I think so.
make agreements and, you know, and they do stuff that may not be allowed by anybody else, and that's just the way it is.
It's also.
It was also a long time ago.
Yeah.
There was so many actors.
Well-
I wanted to point out this particular picture. This is the fourth page from the back. And there's an arrow, so that's what you can look for. I put this scale in here of the height of the V, where I would skip from the road. So now I'm standing right at the edge of the grass and the road lines. Picture, I don't know, step out of 23, but that's a good distance from the turn lane. And I'm afraid if we go much shorter, to be honest with you, but it's not going to be recognizable as a
Right,
distinct
yeah.
business. I really do not believe that if we go a lot shorter, it will be recognizable as a distinct business. Most business signs of this size do not sit over 50 feet from the road.
No. I still, you know, okay, so if this Thomas guy owns everything, Thomas Carpenter, why isn't he not saying, okay, well, you can take over this one sign here in the middle and make it Crash Champions? And doing the one sign up here, that's one of his signs, that's actually going to be better visibility. It's not going to have any of your safety concerns. And he loses a sign here. He's still got a truck sign down here by his used car truck thing. And I believe he still has another Nissan sign down here by the Nissan.
That's a separate business.
Yeah.
Could you?
I know, but that's Nissan.
Could you excuse me for just going on the sidewalk?
See, this is Nissan, this is Nissan, and I don't know why he didn't offer the center one where the body shop is.
I think with the variance request, with the questions you're asking for,
Because now, the thing is,
the smaller base,
they have now.
yes, I agree.
That's why they're thinking it's smart, it's now they can't get anyone to have sex.
What I, honest with you, the instruction at high level, city level, whatever it be.
I appreciate it.
One more second.
Didn't do that.
Probably smart.
So we would have a private session with him. Not us.
I'll get the opinion. See how. What the thing is and what you get done.
That's, I read that. I just. And he's always said that if there's ever a question,
Yeah.
the tie goes to, right,
Yeah, I would suggest that we all meet with him.
I don't care about that so much, but,
You know,
I trust you with that, but I'm not, it doesn't matter to me. But any tie or any.
well, we
Just
could,
goes to
we
them.
could address all. That's
Yes. Thank you. You're okay.
because if the renter, I think, is really concerned with this business that he's renting to, then he probably should have considered doing something different.
Okay, I'm gonna throw a monkey wrench in all this for you. There is a legal definition under section 21, or excuse me, 24.03, and I'm going to read this. Under section B, an existing legal non-conforming use which occupy only a portion of an existing structure or premises may be extended to additional portions of such structure or premises. Do you understand what that means?
It would put you back to pole sign.
Correct.
It would be easier if I were reading.
Okay, I can let you read, but basically the bottom line of it is this. Presently, there is what appears to be pole signs on this premise. Okay, at East on North and through all the signage and stuff that's there. Based on that, and it's already non-conforming. You may want to hear my words. You may want to request that this be postponed to next month's hearing to allow us to go back to legal counsel and state they're already non-conforming with the pole signs. And based on what I just read to you, it may allow you to do what you have the desired sign in the first place. Do you fully understand what I'm saying, man? Okay. So if that's what you would like,
I think that this would be in the best interest.
okay. Please state that.
Let's postpone so that you have an opportunity to discuss this with legal counsel. And I will come back next month and we can continue to discuss this more.
Based on your request, I would like to make a motion for VA CU 21-15 to postpone this until the December meeting, which Mr. Beard,
You need to split those.
December 9th.
You're not,
Do we need to split the variance into conditional use?
we're not talking about the conditional use right now.
No.
Correct, it might not, it'll still be a conditional use, but it might change. So,
Okay.
but you can just do the VA -21, -15 as the first year.
Correct. So based on that, I'll make a motion to postpone this until December 9th.
I second.
Motion made by Mr. Miller to approve the continuance of VA-CU -21-15 to December 9th. Second by Ms. Sundar. Those voting, Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Oster,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley.
Yes.
Ms. Sundar,
Yes.
Mr. Krebs.
Yes.
I will get legal counsel opinion and confirmation and let you know exactly how to proceed for.
What's that allow you to do if that comes back? I mean, spread that way, would actually need to do the pole sign. Correct. Without the cover.
We'll actually be in compliance.
So we're being compliant with, right, exactly, so we wouldn't have to worry about the, used to make it a monument.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for your careful consideration.
Like I was trying to advise you before, we can't legally tell you what to do per se. So trying to help businesses grow within Orange Township, but we also have to keep it legal. Thank you. We'll see you next month. And we certainly didn't mean to confuse you.
These things are confusing enough.
They're not terrible.
I looked at your pictures, not totally confused. What was going on, what you wanted to do, what sign was being used.
Probably split by 1 point.
I kind of figured that.
And I own East on North, and we've owned it for 39 years. In that location, I own Columbus Mitsubishi, used to be Saturn across the street. And we owned auto body collision and glass until we sold it in February of 2020. It was Crash Collisions, who's very reputable. They're called a consolidator. They have over 100 locations throughout the United States. Their home base is actually called a very reputable firm who spent about $100,000 upgrading the building, and part of the building before we had a backlit awning sign. It was rather, it got the job done because you could see it a mile away, but it was not the most attractive thing in the world. But it's set back on the building. You can see it from 23 clearly. They redoing the building, and they're getting with their corporate design. I mean, again, I'm the owner of the property, they're a tenant, with a long 15-year lease. And I basically would like to make sure that they have every chance to be a successful tenant. And no, I would not like to give up any of my Nissan signs. And one of these days, I'll be coming back to you for probably upgraded Nissan signs, because about 10, 15 years they do that. And we've gone through that process. Actually, I'm surprised there's no records, because they go back to Dick Gladden and so on and so forth. We've redone those sites 3 times.
Yeah, see, as soon as those have to be redone, then they have to
Right.
be reviewed
But
again.
each time we've done it, we've reviewed. And we are kind of on an island down there. We're the last strip of Orange Township. In fact, I've been there for 38 years and paying taxes, and we still don't have sewers, which is kind of a sore point. But we have no intention of going to Columbus. You mentioned that Columbus doesn't have anything to do with it, but Columbus is all around us.
Right.
Contact Delaware County sewer and water.
I'm sorry.
You need to contact Delaware County
Yeah.
sewer and water.
What it's gonna take is the property to the north of us, that farm, it's almost 200 acres. Someday that's gonna get developed, they're gonna have to bring sewers in. They actually, Delaware ran a line down to the cemetery and then stopped it at that point. Columbus is right behind us with the apartments.
Right.
And a lot of that land was in Orange Township and has been annexed out. And it's just the growth of the whole area. And
What you may want to do, you'll notice some graphics where basically it's final lettering on the sign. Ask your opinion for Delaware County
I see.
23.
Right.
Go on there and respond. They're looking for it because 23 is in the process of going through some major upgrades. So please do that. Also, and I hate to be legalistic, but please state you did state your name, but your address to the testers,
235 Partridge Bend in Powell.
and your text.
Yes. I didn't know.
Have to be legal.
Yeah, I didn't know if it's still on.
Yeah.
I just,
I think, you know, and what I was trying to say to her was, I think everybody's gonna be familiar with auto body that was there forever. You know, and like me, you know, when you go to your insurance company, you go in and you look up their preferred things and it comes up and, you know, and it tells you exactly where it's at and, you know, I think most people do it that way anymore and kind of figure out where it's at, where they're going.
the big single thing, we have 3 entrances and the person can get in, and we have kind of a north-south interior road.
Yes.
People can drive there, you know, they do 65 out front and maybe do 25. And that is potentially a danger area if the visibility is blocked.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
A lot of times people get on a lot and then they just can't see, you know, where's the body shop.
Yeah.
So we answer those questions.
Yeah, and not everybody realizes, you know, there's a speed limit in all parking lots. And, yeah, but yeah, just getting out to 23
It's fun.
to go north, you know, because I've had to do that quite a few times from your body shop
Right.
or from your former body shop. And, you know, that is big in the poke and stab if you go for it, you know, trying to do both directions there.
Busy street.
Ask for a red light. You put it there. Safety.
No plans otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Okay, as we move on. We have minutes.
You want to do the special meeting first?
Sure.
You did get my corrections.
Yes.
Okay.
The corrections that I currently have for the special meeting, one was on page 9, line 424, it said engages, but it's supposed to be engaging. And then Mr. Trevs had it on page 6 of 13, line 277, the end of the line. There should be a couple of examples instead of example. Those are the two corrections that I have, that I'm aware of at this time.
I have a couple of these are more on verbiage, definition of the sentence. Page 1 of 13, line 44. There's a couple of facts sheets. Should be there. There are fact sheets, not facts sheets.
Oh, but was it said that way or?
I don't know, but proper grammar would state fact sheets.
I totally agree. But that was one thing I mentioned with the was and the is later on. And if it's is on the tape, then that's what we have to have, right? We can't change the words.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be what was stated.
Yeah, what was said.
This is a transcript.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Line 51, your personal interest, your family's members, it should be apostrophe S, not S apostrophe. Well, I'm old and retired, so
There you go.
On page 3 of 13, line 143, has said is if you have a legal conflict interest, shouldn't it be conflict of interest?
So did we determine line 44 was supposed to be facts, F-A-C-T-S?
I don't know, I didn't hear what it was said, but
Actually-
proper grammar, it should be.
Actually, to change that, I think I ought to go back to Mr. Griggs and see if he was talking about a fax that he got, or, because it talks of multiple fact sheets, and then a general fact sheet, meaning one of the many.
So you think it's F-A-X rather than F?
No, I'm thinking it's correct,
Okay.
the way I read it, but, or okay, or however you want to look at that. But somebody had mentioned F-A-X to change it to a facsimile, right?
No?
No, just to take the S off.
Take the S off.
Oh, the S,
Yes, yeah.
no, because it says couple.
Of fact sheets, fact sheet, the sheet is plural, not facts, sheets.
Okay, so you're saying a couple of fact sheets and a general fact sheet.
Right,
Okay, yeah, you could do that.
okay, I'm not trying to be nitpicky, guys, so. That's all I had on the special.
Yeah. It would read better that way.
Anybody else have anything?
But it might have been said the other way.
Is that all you have?
No.
We need a motion to approve. I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from the June 17th, 2021 special meeting
I'll second that.
As amended.
as amended. Thank you.
Motion made by Mr. Shipley to approve the June 17th minutes as amended, second by Mr. Oster, voting, Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Oster,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley.
Yes.
Ms. Sundar,
Yes.
Mr. Krebs.
Yes.
Oh, jump over there.
I got the mask on.
Picky children, he's got it.
Now,
He's sick again.
well, that may be, but not this one.
Yeah, I know. Mr. Shipley already pointed that out, not me.
Okay, on the application for BA 2110 and CU 21-11 minutes. On page 3 of the 3, line 131.
Yep.
Should those be magnetic latches instead of magnet latches?
So they are, I call them magnet latches, I think they are.
That's the name of them? Okay.
Okay.
That's a brand name.
Exactly.
Same
brand
brand.
anytime.
Okay.
They are
I just
magnet.
didn't know that, so I circled it.
Companies pay a lot of money to get that recognition.
Right.
Yeah, regardless how bad it's spelled.
You know, yeah, I mean, whether, you know,
Right.
that's our whole goal.
Toys R Us.
They're coming back.
Yeah, really?
Yeah,
Oh, I heard they were in Macy's.
the company is coming back with a new.
It never totally dissolved, I don't think.
No, they want chapter 7.
Gotcha.
Jerry, what'd you have on the
Other
next?
investors.
I'm sorry, what'd you have on the next one?
That was the only one I had.
Okay. That was,
Kelly, I can read yours that you shared already.
yeah, okay.
You had page 2 of 3, line 75 for BA 21-10. Cover which is to cover which has.
Which is 4-digit control.
It should be just, it should be which has.
Yeah,
So which is to, which has to.
Say that again?
Instead of cover which is to, it should be which has to.
No, there is no 2 there. It's
That's the point.
Right, it's changing which is to cover which has.
cover, which is 4-digit control. That's stated properly.
well, I circled it because I thought it sounded.
As well as the installment of this very expensive safety cover, which is 4-digit control, and not just a light switch that opens and closes it, as they would be able to mitigate this, and the cost is going into this piece rather than having to do a fence.
Right, we followed it up, I noticed, so it sounded weird when you said it, a couple lines in, see, I followed that up with a, like a garage door with a 4-digit code.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And I think it's stated exactly right.
I agree with Rick, I think, I personally agree.
Man, you guys are just getting too nitpicky.
well, it sounded weird.
You're good, you're good, Kelvin. I know you do a good job on this. I'm not darn good. I'm not beating you up at all.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, it reads out properly to me
okay, well,
as
and somebody who,
the way it was stated.
yeah, but I'm using my memory and it wasn't that quite that way.
We've already addressed that.
Yes,
Also on that, page 2, line 109, was blind sight. I believe it should be blind side of the entire pool.
So what do you mean, I don't know how they word that, what he really means to say is that you have the controller so that it's within the entire site, within sight of the entire pool. I think blind is not even supposed to be in it. I think it says.
but that may be what he said.
And I think Mr. Beard might be right on this one, that it should be the blind side, which would be the side that's facing the structure.
What he means to say there is that you have the controller where you can see the entire
Yeah.
pool.
Right.
When you're hitting the controller.
From the structure where that's probably gonna be.
Yeah,
And you can see all 3 other sides.
yeah. No, I totally agree.
I mean, that's kind of the way I read
Maybe
it.
so.
Within the blind sight. Because actually, you could say the blind sight is,
Can't see it.
no, is is the structure side,
Well.
the blind side, because you can't see through the structure.
We just have to check what was
Yeah,
actually
how it
said,
said.
that's all.
Go back and.
Yeah, we'll listen to that, see what it. Yep. Then, we have a couple on the CU 2111 case, page 7 of 10. Mr. Trust had it, it says it is within 50 feet of the original side setback, 50 feet.
Line 330.
Yeah, 330 on page 7, but we did listen to it, and then he did say 50 feet,
I was afraid he did.
so. So he did say it, so there's no correction on that one.
Okay.
And then the other one is Eshelman is spelled incorrectly throughout
Oh,
the
I have no idea.
minutes, so.
Oh, it is?
I'm gonna have to pick up on
It should be spelled ESHLEMAN. That's the only other correction that we have.
I move to approve.
Surprised they didn't want it anywhere.
Let's see. Is it? We've got to do 2 of them on this one,
No, just do the 916.
the 916 minutes as amended.
I'll second that.
A motion made by Mr. Krebs to approve the September 16th, 2021 BZA minutes as amended, second by Mr. Shipley, the voting, Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Oster,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley.
Yes.
Ms. Sundar,
Yes.
Mr. Krebs.
Yes.
I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and a safe.
Jerry.
So that's all I have on the agenda.
Huh?
You gonna
That's all
turn,
I have on the agenda for.
we gonna shut down the recording?
Meeting adjourned. I have a question for you, Mr.